Well, we've probably all been guilty of occasionally feeding our dogs a little tidbit from the table. But do we actually know what everyday ingredients could kill them? I had no idea about this. Vet Scott Miller is with us. Sweetener. And do you know, before I heard about this story, literally a couple of days before, I was making Eamonn a cup of tea and I had one of those sweeteners, you know, the ones you click.
And it fell.
And it stuck and I was clicking away and I dropped it and all the sweeteners went across the kitchen floor. And I was busy kind of sweeping them up and Maggie came tottering along. And I wasn't thinking, oh, this could kill her. I was just thinking that'll taste horrible. So I was thinking, Maggie, get out of the way.
Yeah.
And then when I read this story, I thought that could have been this close for us. Xylitol is in lots of different things. But this lady had made the cakes with the sweetener.
Yes.
Hadn't she? The sugar substitute.
Yeah, one of the main moments that we see xylitol poisoning in vet clinics is when a dog having a lovely time walking along a local street picks up a bit of chewing gum that's been left. And you can see, so chewing gum here, you know, you think just one little piece of chewing gum like that can actually kill a dog.
And how...
Just that little amount.
How quickly? Yeah. So once... Because you might not know the dog's even eaten that, snuffled around, picked up a piece of chewing gum. What would be the warning signs?
So the warning signs are probably the symptoms that they show. So what this does is it kind of mimics sugar. And the body gets a bit confused about that, and it actually produces insulin, which is the hormone that helps the body regulate sugar. And so it then drops your blood glucose level, and then you can go into seizures. You can just start off being a bit weak. They can be a bit disoriented, and it can really turn into very serious symptoms indeed, and they can, in fact, die from it.
And how quickly would the dog display those symptoms?
As quickly as half an hour.
Wow.
But the unfortunate thing is that these active ingredients can actually impact them up to 3 days afterwards. And certainly in the case of Ruby, I think she ended up passing because of liver failure.
Yeah. Well, it's really hard for guys like you to diagnose or detect. And the thing that really amazes me is that we don't know the things that will poison our dog. And more importantly, why doesn't the dog know? Because animals, you would have thought in the wild, would know, don't eat this because it's not good for me.
Yes, absolutely. And dogs have so many great attributes. They have 10,000 time ability to smell. They have 10 times the hearing ability that we do. But actually, their sense of taste is quite poor. They're quite insensitive. And so they have about 1,700 taste buds on their tongue versus our 9,000. So they're not as good at tasting things to start with. And then all the foods that we're talking about here so often are cloaked in things that they would be keen to eat. But if it was, for example, an onion, for example, they're not going to eat a whole onion, but they might eat it if it's in a lasagna.
Or a burger or whatever. So we get this. Now, I think the main thing is we've got to outline what are the danger foods here in front of you to worry and keep away from dogs. Yeah,
so we've touched on xylitol, present in lots of foods, and it's a sweetener. So that's one that you definitely have to watch for. It's a bit of a hidden one.
Sugar-free sweets, chewing gum particularly, the baking mixes, some peanut butters and some chocolates as well.
And the symptoms of that really is just sort of, they just seem to be a little bit weak to start with, and maybe they're sort of slightly stumbling a little bit, but that is cause for major concern. They can also start vomiting as well.
You've got a lot of chocolate in front of you.
I do.
It's very delicious.
I know. This is my breakfast this morning. But chocolate is one that a lot of people know about. And chocolate contains an active ingredient called theobromine. It's particularly concentrated in the cocoa part of chocolate, which is why dark chocolate has a lot more than milk chocolate. But it can cause gastrointestinal upset, so vomiting and diarrhoea is classic. But also it can really impact quite heavily on the kidneys as well.
Right. Well, here's what I object to. I can go into pet stores and I'll find for sale stuff that looks like that called doggy chocolate.
Yes.
And what I really hate about that is it mixes the message, because the dog then thinks this is OK and could eat anything off
I love it when you get militant, Eamonn. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. It just seems a ridiculous thing to go, actually, you can have that, but you can have that, but actually it's the same thing. And it is confused, because I think owners would look at that and go, oh, so there's doggy chocolate. Oh, well, I can't afford doggy chocolate, so I'll just give them some of the real stuff. It's an incredibly dangerous way to go. And it also, chocolate is hidden in a lot of things as well, like, so muffins, for example, or
biscuits,
cakes. Exactly. And it's a really, really small amount. So that, for example, that tiny amount there is enough to kill a 10-kilogram dog. So my Border Terrier, if she ate that, she would be in dire straits. And immediately we need to make...
We want to get through these, make sure everybody knows about this. Our friend Richard Arnold and his dog...
I saw Richard up in our green, in the canteen, and his lovely dog Clemmy had found a couple of grapes on the green room floor somebody had dropped, and he had to rush her to the vet.
So grapes we're unsure exactly what the toxin is that causes problems here, but it has some very, very, very damaging effects on kidneys. And so it's something that I would suggest that if a dog eats even, say, 3-4 grapes in total, that's a problem. But again, grapes isn't something they normally are driven towards. They're sweet, yes, so they like that, but actually it's the raisins hidden in cakes and biscuits and things.
Yeah.
We always see that as a problem around Christmas time when, a dog will snaffle a Christmas cake, which
Mince
are absolutely
pies and-
full of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Onions you touched upon there, stay
Yes.
clear of those. Avocado.
Yeah, you never would have thought of this one.
amazed
It's
at
got
this
something called persin in it, which can cause gastrointestinal irritation. But the big concern regarding that is actually the pip inside. It's a perfectly smooth, round object, which is perfect for being swallowed, can't be brought up again, it can pass through and then can block the intestines.
If
Really
the
dangerous.
worst happens, and I know you have to do this in the surgery, making
Yeah.
dogs sick and things, what should people do straight away?
Always contact your vet straight away. The veterinary poisons line also exists, and so you can give them a call, but just call your vet and they'll call them directly as you're getting down there. The first thing we normally do is to make them vomit, understandably, and then depending upon how much they've eaten and what active ingredient, as to then do we need to hospitalise them. In the case of, say, chocolate, for example, we'll make them vomit. If it's the xylitol, we'll have to give them a glucose drip, something to support them. And then sometimes we send them home with things like active charcoal, so they swallow it and it absorbs the toxin that they've consumed.
Well,
Basically, just don't leave these things lying around.
Yeah,
Really
if in doubt, just
mindful.
hear my annoying Australian accent saying, don't touch it, mate. Leave it alone.
Don't touch it, man.
Thanks,
Don't touch
Scott.
it, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Scott.
much indeed.
Thank
Thank you.